We're about to have an extended one-on-one conversation with the attorney who handled the case of Ryan Lawrence. Today in court, the Syracuse father admitted he killed his daughter, Maddox, back in February. The case triggered an Amber Alert, as you may recall, a frantic search for the little girl, then revealed some sickening details of her murder. Lawrence couldn't fight back the tears today as the judge described the details of baby Maddox's death. Let's get the facts first on CBS 5 News at 5:30. It was February 21st when an Amber Alert was issued for both Ryan and Maddox. That alert lasted 2 days. Ryan Lawrence was ultimately found in Baldwinsville a day later, 36 hours after the alert went out. The body of his daughter was found by divers in Syracuse's Inner Harbor. Police believe Ryan Lawrence may have somehow been jealous of his young daughter. The child had survived a rare cancer of the eye. The district attorney told me right after the body was found that so much of the family's attention had been focused on the child at that point. And now a CBS 5 exclusive, the first extended interview with the attorney who represented Ryan Lawrence. Michael Vavanese is my guest. Michael, thanks for being here.
Nice to see you, Michael.
Even after this guilty plea today, people who have followed this case are left with a burning question: why this happened? Why, even after this guilty plea today, can we not answer that question?
Well, at this point in time, he's pled guilty, but we still have sentencing in a couple of weeks to address. At this point in time, I can't get into all the details of that, but I can tell you that there was, with the notice that we gave the district attorney, an extreme emotional disturbance possible defense. And what that indicated was there were certain events that bore on his emotions that brought him to this point. As you may realize, all the information we have about Ryan was that he was a loving and dutiful father prior to the time this incident occurred.
So a snap?
So to speak, a snap that caused him to do things that were extremely, and to put it bluntly, completely outside of his normal character and his normal relationship with his daughter.
So it was a different person,
and almost,
so to speak.
Well, almost out of a overly concern for his daughter, if you can understand that type of situation that was going through his mind.
Prior to this event, he was an overly concerned, I want to make sure we get this right. An overly concerned father?
He was a completely responsible, dutiful and loving father. He spent most of his time away from work with his child and taking care of her while his wife was working. He was that type of father, kind of attached at the hip.
The day that Maddox's body was found in the Inner Harbor, the district attorney sat right here in that chair and told me that they were theorizing on a motive about jealousy, that the child had survived this rare cancer of the eye, and that Ryan Lawrence may have somehow felt like so much of the attention, rightfully so, had been put on Maddox that he was in some way feeling left out. Do you know anything about that?
What I can tell you about that is nothing whatsoever, and what I've found and what I've looked into and what I've learned with respect to this matter indicates that that was the situation at all. It was more of a concern for the type of life that Maddox may have experienced as she went on. And again, those details I can't get into at this point in time. Okay. But that was his concern out of a love in his mind for Maddox, and that's what brought this about. I know that that's difficult to understand.
We have a live picture of the memorial to Maddox at the Inner Harbor. Have you been down there at all?
I have driven past that in my journeys over the past couple months.
Impressive show of support for this family and a memorial to this child.
It is, and I think one thing we shouldn't lose sight of, and that is the fact that Ryan pled today, and when he did that, he did two things. Number one is he accepted responsibility for his acts, although he had emotions that brought him to that. He accepted responsibility for his acts, and he saved, most importantly, the family, himself, Maddox's mother, and the community from what would have been a long, drawn-out, and kind of gory, detailed trial. None of us now have to go through that, and that certainly is one of the reasons that went into his decision to make that determination today.
After his arrest, the authorities told us that what's triggered the search, the frantic search, the Amber Alert, was some sort of message that Ryan Lawrence sent to his wife. He was supposed to pick her up at the mall, we know. He ultimately did not do that. Some sort of message, a text message, a voicemail message. Do you know what it was and what it contained?
I think it came up at the hearing that was a video message from his home about the fact that he would no longer be seeing his wife.
A video message like recorded on a smartphone?
That's correct.
I'm not going to see you anymore?
Something along those lines.
Something that short?
Yes.
Something that short.
Yes.
Any reference to the child in that video message? Do you know?
I can't get into all the details of that.
Some of your colleagues, fellow defense attorneys in Central New York that I've spoken with, they have great respect for the fact that you took this case, that the courts decided that you would be the appropriate attorney to take this case forward after Ryan Lawrence was arrested. And they just have wonderful things to say about the fact that you stepped up to that challenge. I'm wondering how it was for you because you know more about this case than any of us do. You've seen pictures that none of us have, and you've spoken to Ryan Lawrence in ways that no one else has.
Well, two things about that, if I could, Michael. First and foremost, when you become a defense attorney, you take an oath to defend your clients to the best of your ability and zealously. If you can't continue and live up to that oath, you really shouldn't be a criminal attorney. I think we're very fortunate in Onondaga County to have both a efficient district attorney and some very, very talented defense attorneys. And when the courts contacted me about representing Ryan, that was one of the things that went through my mind. What they wanted to do is to make sure, because this case would get much attention, including nationally, that there would be a sufficient defense for him and that our bar would look good with respect to that defense, and that's one of the obligations that I thought I had with respect to this matter. But there's no question in the world that you'd have to be completely cold to not be affected by the allegations and the details of those allegations and the graphically in this matter. And certainly those are one of the things that we considered in entering this plea to avoid the community of going through all that.
Did you struggle? Did you struggle?
Well, I'm a defense attorney, so what I try to do when I represent a defendant is kind of put those gory details aside and look at it as a legal strategy and a legal principle and a legal procedure that we have to follow. Remember, we stand in the way of making our system one of the best systems in the world, and that is by defense attorneys that make the prosecution prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt. And that's what we attempted to do here.
When did Ryan Lawrence decide that this is what he was going to do, that he was going to stand in court and admit it?
Yeah, I can't get through those details. But
was it a decision that came quickly to him, or was it a decision that came over time in consultation?
You know, I can't go through the details of that with respect to Ryan, but what I can tell you is that there's been much and extended negotiations between my office and the district attorney's office with respect to this matter.
There was even a meeting today with the judge and the district attorney's office.
We were in court for about over an hour today.
What were you working out during that?
Well, I can't get into all those details, Michael, but it culminated in his plea today. And there, as you know, there was a possibility of going to trial on a murder one charge, which left the possibility, if convicted, of life without parole. And so the discussions were what we could work out, and finally Ryan decided to go along with the certainty of 25 to life with the possibility of parole after 25 years.
How does he deal with this? What does he say to you?
It's
that you can reveal.
Completely remorseful, as you see in court today, accepted responsibility for his acts, and completely remorseful with respect to those acts which he did and which those emotions brought him to those acts.
We saw him cry in court today. Is that's something that has happened before? I mean, these are authentic emotions as far as you can tell? Everything
I've learned about Ryan Lawrence outside of these allegations is that he is a responsible, loving, and caring young man who has been an asset to his family throughout his life.
So bizarre that this happened.
Everything I know about him and everything that's been confirmed to me.
So how do you reconcile what happened? It's so bizarre.
That is a definitive word with respect to this matter.
We'll leave it there. Michael Vavanese, criminal defense attorney in Syracuse, who represented Ryan Lawrence, who was called upon by the courts to represent Ryan Lawrence and has the respect of his colleagues.
Thank you very much,
Michael,
as you do.
Thank you very much.